Great. Okay. Hey, Mindy.
Hey, wait, can you see me? Oh, shit, whatever. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. I know I usually get on this thing a little earlier, so I'll let you concentrate and do your thing, and I'll be right back.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Let's see. Oh, here it is. Meeting room. Should probably have gone page builder. How do I know that that's the right one? I don't know. There, that's better. Now, embed. Copy. Okay. Oh, yes, I can hear. Yes, hi. Hey. I can hardly hear you though. Why is that? I can barely hear you.
Oh, maybe it's this one.
Yes,
Can you hear me
yes.
better? Okay.
Yes,
then my
much better.
microphone's on this side. Did you get my message?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay. So I'll probably leave a little bit into the call, maybe after the first half hour or something.
Okay, that
'Cause,
sounds good.
yeah.
Cool. All right, cool. Thank you. I'm going to finish getting set up, all right?
Okay.
All right, I'm ready to go. Let's see. Uh-oh. I've lost my hangout. Where did it go? There it is. All right, so it looks like it's going to just be the three of us to get started. This is Cozy. Hi, Yvonne. Hi, Mindy.
Hello.
How y'all doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I just did an 11.25 mile hike, and
Wow.
my feet are so tired. I want a foot massage so badly. Oh my God.
Well, yesterday you went for like an 8-mile walk, didn't you?
I did, and I went
It was
to go out for
beautiful.
another. I meant to go out for another 5 or 6 miles. Just like 2 hours is what I wanted to do, but I ended up passing the place I wanted to go, and then I'm like, I don't want to miss the place because I've walked down here. So then I ended up walking back through, and then walking back home, and oh my God, and there are no buses around here where I can just hop on a bus and say like, okay, I'm done. I'm going to take a bus. Nope.
Well, it was beautiful. The pictures were beautiful.
Yeah, it looks really nice. I love it here. It's all farmland and flat and green. It's really good. Hi, Frida.
Hi.
Hi. Good morning.
Good morning.
I love that all three of you all are in. Oh, no, I'm sorry, Mindy, you're not in Long Beach. I was going to say everybody's in Long Beach, but nope. Close, though. Temecula is closer than France.
I wish I were back in Long Beach.
Well, you'll have plenty more friends there by the time you decide.
I know. I've already got most of my friends there to begin with.
Right?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, should we go ahead and get started?
Yeah.
Excellent. So what I think I want to start us off by doing, Mindy, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and mute because there's so much noise in the background where you
I
are.
forgot. Okay, I forgot. Hang on.
Thank you. But what I want to do is I have a little question for us to answer for our roll call. So we'll just do a little check-in for the day, and maybe we'll see. Let's see. Let's give your name, and then the question that I have for us to answer is, what is your most intriguing lesson or daily inspiration from A Course in Miracles? So give us your name and then tell us what the most intriguing lesson or daily inspiration is that you touched on this week. So I'll go ahead and start just because I'm already here in the hot seat. And my name is Crystalline Bell. And I think the lesson that I'm having the most fun and challenge with this week is number 21. And that particular lesson is I'm determined to see blank in a different way. And we're supposed to search our mind for anger. And we're supposed to say, well, I see this thing that makes me angry. I'm determined to see this thing that makes me angry in a different light. So I liked that one. At first, I didn't like it. Like I started off doing it in the morning and I was like, I don't feel angry in the morning. I can't really muster the anger right now. I just feel kind of peaceful. And so I played around with it a little bit, and I found that during the day I had a lot more anger. I could muster a lot more anger, and I found myself feeling like this is the first time where I felt like we've been given the opportunity to actually we've been given the opportunity to actually feel our feelings. So I feel like normally we have to kind of move beyond our feeling, and maybe, he'll acknowledge, okay, there's maybe a little anger, but in this particular one, I felt like he was like, because it's written that you have to kind of feel the fury, and that there's, realize that there's actually fury where you think there's no anger, there's actually fury. that was seemed like the first time that I felt like I've gotten an acknowledgement of the fact that I'm an emotional being and that emotions matter and have a role in our lives. So that's my sound off for the week about the lessons. All right, so I'll pass it on to whoever wants to go next to give their intro and tell us what lesson they found the most intriguing.
I'll go next since I see the microphones are off there.
Excellent,
Is that
Yvonne.
everyone can hear me? I'm Yvonne, and I'm in Long Beach, and I will be moving temporarily to Whittier because my place isn't ready yet, and the landlady said she can't pay for the hotel anymore, and I don't really have the rights I wish I had, so it'll be a temporary move. That blow came to me last Monday. And it was a blow because it'll change things significantly. And the initial reaction for me was of fear. What am I going to do? And how am I going to take care of my son? And that lasted so far less time than it would have 2 years ago. And I think a lot of it is because realizing that but learning the lesson that's having the most impact on me right now is that everything's an illusion.
Yes.
It's everything that we're making up. So all the struggles, all the fear, I'm creating that. And the only thing I need to come back to, or the only thing I need to do is sort of decrease that separation. And I'm not, well, no, I don't want to say that. Up to this point, that separation has been vast, feeling like I need to solve this problem. I don't know what to do. I have to fix it. And how am I going to get it fixed? And anybody telling me that it's not such a big deal because, most people will say, well, you have all these other solutions. In my mind, it's like, but you don't understand. It's very difficult. And anyway, so, I just kind of realized that it's all an illusion. Nothing is really that bad. And whatever comes to me, I can solve with the help of God. And really, it's all God's stuff. It's for, it's going to be handled. It's going to be taken care of. Everything's going to be taken care of. Of course, I still had to manage certain things. I thought to myself, well, what can I do now? That I can solve this or make this better for myself. And I wrote some letters, and I did a lot of writing for a couple days. Not even a couple days, like it was a day. And so, it's not like I just sat there and thought, oh, well, this problem will get solved. There were things I had to do. But anyways, that's the thing that I think is impacting me most, is that it's all an illusion. And that the one thing causing the feeling of lack or fear is the separation.
I love it. Lovely. Yvonne, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, who wants to go next?
I'll go next. Good morning.
Right on. Hi.
Hi, I'm Frida Rossi, and I think similar to what Yvonne said. As a matter of fact, I started writing like these little index cards because I found myself just kind of like highlighting and underlining a lot. And I'm actually going to use these to kind of put up on my bulletin board and kind of play around with the ideas. But one of the ones that I highlighted was peace is an attribute in you. You cannot find it outside. Illness is some form of external searching. Health is inner peace. So I think like about a year and a half ago when I met Crystalline and we did the intake session, one of the things that I wrote down that I wanted was peace. And Crystalline kept on saying, look inside, look within. And I was like, okay.
What does that mean?
Yeah, so I'm still in my journey, and similar to what Yvonne said, I've always been like the fix-it person, and now what I'm doing is I'm praying more, but praying differently. So that's one of the things that came up for me this week. is the fact that the peace is inside myself and not outside, and I shouldn't be searching to make things right in order. So this is what I used to do before, is let me control everything in my environment and let me make everything perfect. So as a result of making everything perfect, then I will be at peace. Okay.
Right.
And now it's the other way around. It's like, I'm not going to try to control everything around me. I am just going to work within myself because the peace is already there. So that was one of my learnings for this week.
Wonderful, Frida. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not I'm not laughing at you. You know I'm laughing with you, right?
Oh, you know what? I totally get it because I'm that way too. Sometimes people are saying stuff to me, and if they don't know me really well, they'll be like, what are you laughing at? Or why are you laughing? But the people that know me really well know that I laugh either like, it's like, yeah, I hear you. It's like a way
Yeah.
yeah, I hear you. I've been there. Like, yeah, I know. I
Like,
totally
yeah, that
get your laugh.
resonates. Yep.
I totally get your laugh.
Yep, that's exactly it. Now, look, I'm okay. There will be times when I'll be laughing at you. Okay.
Oh, I know that too. I know the different laughs.
Yeah, for
No
sure.
worries. Okay.
But yeah, but you all are hitting this right on the head. Thank you so much for all the beautiful insights. Andrea, I know you signed on. I'm gonna maybe shift this over to Mindy. But Andrea, what we're doing is, sorry, let me just tell you what we're doing roll call. Andrea, are you there? Because I don't see your, I know you're there, but I don't see your picture. Oh, and I hear you typing. Okay, but do you have? I hear you're typing. So you're not muted, but do you have your headphone? I mean, can we hear you today? Can you talk? Can you say something so that I can know we can hear you? Are you talking today?
I'm trying. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, I can hear you. We just can't see you, but that's okay. Cool.
Okay.
All right.
Perfect.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. So the question that we're answering while we're doing roll call is, what was your most intriguing lesson or daily inspiration for the week? So just when it's your turn, just give us your name, and you'll go actually right after Mindy. But yeah, just give us your name and tell us what was most intriguing, either in the lesson or daily inspiration, and we'll go from there. All right, so Mindy, it's all yours. Can't hear you. Okay, now we can.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, good. I'm Mindy. Hi, everybody. Again. I don't really know. All of them, I'm actually starting to learn that it's basically saying the same exact thing, but in different languages, I guess. But I guess I would have to say that the most challenging for me would be lesson 14, and God did not create a meaningless world. A lot like your experience, Crystal, is, you had to search for what really made you upset, and then God did not create the war. God did not create this whatever incident. God did not create you. And so I believe that was like the most challenging for me, because and studying faithfully, of course, in laws of attraction, I want to think happy thoughts and butterflies and this and that, because I don't want anything bad to come to me. But it also challenged me to realize that, I guess maybe put trust in it, that I don't know how to explain it, but I feel it. I guess to maybe put trust in that, like, it's with your vibration as well as, like, how you're feeling, I guess. Well, that's vibration, but basically that it's not real. It's an illusion, like what everybody else is saying too. And I would have to say that the one that I'm liking the most is, like, each time as I go on, I do have to say that lesson 20. Am I on? Here I am. I'm on lesson 22 yesterday worked out well for me because I got into an incident. There was an incident at work that I had to keep telling myself, I see only the perishable. I see nothing that will last. What I see is not real. You know, so that was a little bit challenging. But I mean, not challenging, but it was. I found myself not as upset longer, or during that situation, I thought, well, you know, I basically was like, normally I'd want to tell my boss, screw you, but this time I was just like, okay.
Yes.
And actually meant it, like, because there was other bigger, you know, fish to worry about. Not really. I mean, I don't know, but that makes sense.
Yeah. Cool. Excellent, Mindy. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Relating very well to all of this. And yeah. Good. Excellent. Thank you. Andrea, are you ready?
Kind of. I don't really. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I don't really know. What was the question again?
The question is, what was your most intriguing lesson or daily inspiration? Like what lesson was getting you really thinking this week?
I think because I think I'm only on lesson 12.
Only.
Only.
Only is good. Mine is like, I'm on lesson 6.
But like I think Mindy just said, like it's a lot of saying the same thing just in a different way in the beginning.
It is, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I do struggle with some of it sometimes, like how I wrote, and I think I had lesson 8 it was, and that my past means nothing, and you know everything is being in the future and not in the future or the past in the now. But at the time I was feeling sick, and I know you had commented on my post, you know, honor being sick, and that's where I struggle a lot with what I know it's not the reality so and so, but honoring it at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think that, I mean, for me, that was a lesson that I really had to take on this week.
Yeah, I get it. You want to add more to that?
Not really.
All right. All right. I've been kind of listening to people tell me that, you know, that I'm a little bit too caught up in the material world. And so it's been really challenging because as someone who has intentionally withdrawn from the material world and really focused on the spiritual world, you know, like living like a hermit and like really focused on spirituality. I kind of, you know, I've gone back into the material world. I'm looking to connect more with people. I'm listening to politics. I'm putting in my opinions and doing things. And to have like all my very spiritual wannabe friends say, you know, that's all very three-dimensional. I'm like, you know, that is not the answer. That is not the answer for everything. But then you get with A Course in Miracles and it's like, okay, it is the answer to everything. This is not real. So I'm a little bit irritated this week because I'm feeling this sense of, look, I'm here on earth. I'm having my human experience. I want to feel my opinions. I want to feel my emotions. I want to feel my anger. I'm not saying that I want my anger to drive me. And I think that this is where A Course in Miracles is eventually going to end up taking us, that we are not to be driven by that anger. We shouldn't make decisions based on that anger. We shouldn't make decisions based on fear. But it doesn't mean that we don't have our anger. Like with Mindy and, you know, wanting to guard her thoughts because she wants the law of attraction to work in her favor. Girl, just what you said, you have to be able to have your dark thoughts if they're there. I'm not saying that you don't manage your thoughts. I have to manage my emotions. I'm an emotional wreck. I'm the most emotional person I know. I got to manage these emotions. but you can't just put a Band-Aid over my head and say it's not real, you know, and be like, you don't feel that, that's not real, that's invalid, you don't feel that, you know. It's like there really has to be a balance between, I'm going to feel these emotions right now, but I'm not going to take action, and I'm not going to impose these emotions on other people, and I'm not going to look at other people and blame them, but I'm going to feel what I feel. That's where I am.
Crystalline,
that's my final rant.
can I comment on what you just said?
Yes, ma'am.
Because I can totally appreciate that. I was listening because in order to understand A Course in Miracles, I'm having to supplement a lot of it. So I ordered an Audible book, The 10 Bridges of Transformation by Marianne Williamson. I think it's a speaking engagement. So it was on Audible. And she's basically speaking about all the principles in A Course in Miracles. And a very early question in the thing came up from someone speaking to the point of illusion. He's like, how can I really immerse in this idea when I work in a cancer unit and I see sick children? This is not an illusion. This is really happening. And to lessen that, or, you know, this is real. And so she spoke to that. And she also spoke to about the point that someone made about things that are happening in the world, and about having the feelings that you're having too, reconciling all of that with the principle. And she is very politically active, and she does a lot of the speaking about politics. So I don't know, that might be helpful to you too, that there's someone who is very much in the world, who lives in the principles.
Yes.
So, you know, that's just, it's part of it. So yes, we need all of it. We need those people who are completely, you know, hermits and living like on a spiritual level consistently all the time. But I think we as well need everyone else. So I think there's a place for everything in the principles.
I agree, Yvonne. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that feedback.
Can I add to that too?
Yes, please.
Remember last week when we were talking about the sonship, sonship, the you know, the coming together in community. I think, at least for me, you know, it's if I live, so I spend a lot of time by myself, and I find that that's important, but I also feel like I will put these principles into practice in my interactions with others.
Sure.
Because for me, finding peace by myself without interacting with other people on earth is kind of like I'm not really putting the principles to use in situations where I'm having to go through emotions, and where people are going to have different points of view. It's kind of like if you're always kind of tasting the same foods and you don't ever introduce anything different to what you do, you're not going to know the difference. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's kind of like we have to be part of this world. I mean, in order for us to really live with these principles, we have to be in community. And the book did talk about that in chapter 1 a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to what you were saying, Crystalline, about, you know, your spiritual friends that are kind of like, oh, you know, that's in the 3D, that's in the 3D. Well, there's a reason why we're here.
Yeah.
God could have.
I'm telling you.
God could have decided not to create this 3D world. There's a reason for it. So just going back to what Yvonne was saying as well.
Yeah, thank you, Frida. I love that input. Very good.
Are your spiritual friends, are they practicing A Course in Miracles with you, or have they not dabbled into it yet?
Some have gone into it. Some are serious, you know, already. That and beyond, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, you know, more than anything, I think that it's a it's a little bit of a condescension and a little bit of a disconnection that people who are still evolving spiritually, we get sidetracked, you know.
Because we all want to be right.
We want to be right. Yes, I would say yes, we want to be right, but I also say that it's easy to get it's easy to live in your little sliver of the pie and see it through your perspective and to lose sight of the broader perspective, which is, it's something that I'm always telling my clients. I'm like, yeah, you're in this perspective, but you got to get the broader perspective. The broader perspective is the higher perspective. Broader perspective is this perspective from being on the mountaintop. Your individual perspective is the one when you're down in the valley. You can only see so far, but when you get up to you go into your higher self, you get that broader perspective, you can see the big picture, And I think that, this is what we do. We expand and we contract. We expand and we contract. And, it felt very expansive to take the broad view, but it's not the same thing as when you're in it. And I think that what, Yvonne and Frida have said, with Yvonne talking about how Marianne Williamson, and obviously this woman she knows ACIM, and she's all about applying it to everyday life. And she's built an entire career on it, and it's what she does. She knows what she's doing, and that is a good role model for me to see someone running for office. Didn't she run for office?
Yeah, she did.
She did.
Mhm.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I think that's
But,
fantastic.
Also, Crystalline, I think we have to realize, like, even your friends, it's not to say anything negative about what they said, but I think sometimes we forget that everyone has a curriculum here. We all, everything that we're doing is with purpose, usually, if there's some consciousness, at different times, but we all have a curriculum here. And we have to honor that for everyone. To make any, judgments. Like, I had a friend who, because she's all immersed in this, looks at other people and says, oh, but they don't know, they're not conscious. And I had to tell her, I said, it's very easy to say that when you're doing what you're doing, but it's also you have to be very careful with that, because that closes you off as well. You're passing judgment on others, and even though you think you're right, that's not true. None of that is true that you're saying. They have their curriculum. Everyone has their path. And if you're practicing with judgment, it's going to be much harder to help others find consciousness, because, it's a real big turnoff when you sit down with spiritual people and all they want to do is talk about how nobody's enlightened.
Oh, yes, ma'am. 100%, Yvonne. Totally agree, Philip.
I just want to add one quick thing too. In my experience, not really to comment on anybody else's experience, but in this past week, I had my uncle pass away. I had a couple different things going on, but I'm also progressing into the 20s of the lessons as well, and I really am applying them, and I have started to notice my world shift. And what I mean by my world is that we all have our own world here. And that's okay for what everybody else is going through. So when I do recognize in others, whether they're being judgmental or not, in a sense, in my own opinion, it makes me feel, okay, but then I'm kind of being judgmental now. So sometimes I try to practice and apply, but then sometimes I don't, because like I said, it's just, it's a give and take world here. Sometimes I think to myself, well, screw that. They're thinking this and they're wrong. And I want to, just give out my opinion.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I think sometimes I think to myself, well, okay, you're entitled to your opinion, whatever, And then recently I've had a friend that, Denise just got back to me. She said, no, I have an appointment. Okay, good. Recently I just had a friend telling, she's getting irritated with me because I'm not there for her lately. I couldn't understand what I was feeling torn, like back and forth between working, between taking care of myself, just trying to people please. So she was really irritated with me that I hadn't been there for her. She says that I'm changing, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't really feel like I'm changing, but it wasn't worth that argument with her, because I know that she's going through her own things too. But then of course that's just my opinion as well as her opinion. So it's kind of weird trying to be just plain about it. So I guess what I'm trying to say, to wrap it up in a nutshell, is that to each their own, and however you feel. If one week you're feeling like you're, getting into all the politics, and that's fine too. And if one week you feel like you're not, then that's fine too. Like there was a time when I was very much into Marianne Williamson, and I really am, but I'm more into Marianne Williamson at the beginning stages when she wrote, the book of Finding Love. I can't remember what it was called. As more than what I am now, because when I reopened up my Facebook, I purposely mentioned on there, and I think we discussed it as well, I don't want to get involved in the politics. I just didn't want to, because I knew that at that time it triggered certain emotions. But now that I'm going through A Course in Miracles religiously, I'm finding myself learning how to deal with it. And it's a matter of when you want to go through certain things, because back then I don't think I wanted to. And why did I not want to? Because I wasn't used to it, and it was very rigid for me. It was a very rigid road because I didn't know how to handle certain things. And I'm learning, and I'm a student right now, and I think we're all students, even the teachers are students. But anyways, I'm rambling on, and so there you go. I'm sure you guys all get the gist of it. To each their own.
Yeah, no, and it's you made a lot of good points in there, Mindy, and I thank you for that. Really, really good. I guess I should probably get us moving on to the next thing. Since I'm getting us off track, I should get us back on track. All right, our agenda for the day. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let you all sign up for planning on Facebook, because everybody wants to do that. And people who miss a day want to be able to sign up to do something for the week, and they're not here to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and post. I'm not going to do it now. The daily lessons, I'm not going to assign them today. Going to assign them, let you all assign yourselves to them. So there'll be 3 sections. There will be the daily lessons, the principles of miracles, and the weekly chapters. So you all can go on the Facebook page and sign up for the Facebook page. Sign up for what you want to do on the Facebook page. All right. Very good. Boom. Now, for this week, we have Mindy's going to be presenting on principle number 3. I'm going to be presenting on principle number 4, the principles of miracles. And then we have weekly chapter presentations. We've got chapter 1 being presented by Yvonne. And Yvonne, maybe we can just let you go ahead and do that. We'll just jump out of order and we'll let you do that right now. Since you have to leave. So we'll do that now, and then we'll move on to do section 2, 3, and 4. 2 will be done by Frida, section 3 by Andrea, section 4 by Mindy. And the next 4, there are actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more sections that we'll do for next week. Those will also be up for grabs on the Facebook page. So if you all want to present, I'm going to pin this post and it'll have all those opportunities for you to sign up, and it'll be a space for you to sign up. I think there's a format for me where I can create a form within Facebook. So you're going to be able to write your name next to the chapter you want to do. So
Okay.
I think it's not, don't put it in the comments section. I do believe that I have the ability to set up a form, and you can just type your name into the thing next to what you want to do. All right. I might be wrong, but I think that it'll go easily like that. And I think that I have the ability to do that on Facebook. They've gotten kind of savvy. All right.
I want to say something really, really quick. Sorry.
Yeah.
I just want to say something really, really quick. I work on Saturdays, as we all know. I have to be there by 11 o'clock. So can I do mine at least no later than, like, say 10?
Yes.
Because I have to get on the freeway by 10:30, and then in the middle of listening and all that, I got to get ready and all that good stuff.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. You can go after Yvonne. If that's okay with Frida and Andrea, it's okay with me. Is that okay to let Yvonne and then Mindy go? All right, I got a thumbs up from Frida, and it's so dark over there in Andrea land. I think that we're going to just assume that she's okay, because she would let me know if it wasn't okay. All right, cool. Thank you, Mindy, for letting me know. And Mindy, why don't you go ahead, actually, and let's get started with principles number 3. And by the way, Frida, I recognize that you have asked to have a meditation before we start. And I actually have a meditation. However, we're always running a little bit long in our intros, which I kind of like. So I'm blowing off the meditation so that we can maintain our intros. Otherwise, we wouldn't get done until even later. Okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Cool. Thank you. But Frida, look, I have these meditations. They're all piling up. I got a few of them there. One of these days, we're actually going to be able to have that meditation. But
How about if you, just a suggestion, if you were to post them and then we could do them before, like on our own?
Do what? The meditation?
Yeah, like for those of us that want to do like a 10-minute little meditation before the session or after the session. Just a thought. You don't need to answer right now.
What do you mean? You mean like type out post the meditation that I typed out?
No, like an audio of it.
You want me to record an audio? Okay.
No, you don't have. I'm just like sharing thoughts. Because
because you would love for me to actually record a meditation and put it out there for you, and I would love to do that. I think I'm gonna say yes to that, to the universe. Okay. And because I think that would be really fun. I mean, this is what I do anyway, right? I've created these meditations, and they're just getting built and edited so I can put them on the website. But I just need time to do that. But I can do something like that.
Okay.
Even doing, and you know what? As a matter of fact, if you all would like to share on Saturday, if there's a meditation that you've done over the week that you would like to share, maybe on Saturday morning when you wake up, if you want to post a link to a YouTube meditation that you have done that morning or you want to do, maybe post it so that other people can see it. Just something I'm throwing out there, something to think about.
Yes.
Right? Might be kind of fun.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you for the inspiration.
The meditation.
You're welcome, but thank you for the good idea, because this might be fun for people, you know?
Yes. Thank you.
All right. So we're going to turn this over to Yvonne. Okay, we're going to turn this over to Yvonne, let her do her presentation. Then we're going to go to Mindy. She's going to do 2 presentations. Then we're going to go to Frida and Andrea in whatever order they're supposed to be in. All right, so we're turning this over to Yvonne first so she can do her presentation, and then then Mindy. Yvonne is presenting on Chapter 2, Section 1, which is titled The Origins of Separation. Take it away, Yvonne.
Okay, great. So this was great. I'm also listening to the book, A Course in Miracles, on audibles.com. And it's really cool because I listen over and over and over again. And the origins of separation, it goes into a deeper depth about the creation of the lack, of how that happened, and what we've done with it. So it talks about Adam and Eve and how, you know, Adam took the bite of the apple and went into a deep sleep. And so basically he never awoke. So there hasn't been a collective awakening. So that's what we're in sort of a dream state. And he talks about there's an inappropriate use of extension or projection occurs when you believe that some emptiness or lack exists in you. So when we were created within perfectly. And then there are misperceptions that have happened. And those misperceptions are the process of them. There's 4. First, we believe that what God created can be changed by our own mind. Second, we believe that what is perfect can be rendered imperfect or lacking. Third, we believe that we can distort the creations of God, including ourselves. And fourth, we believe that you can create yourself and that the direction of your own creation is up to you. And none of these things are true. It's almost like we're trying to take the bull by the horns and correct all of this ourselves without realizing that we already have all of that within us, that perfection, that light, so to speak. These related distortions represent a picture of what actually occurred in the separation or the detour into fear. So once we change those 4 things, we realize that what God created cannot, that we can change it, that it is what it is, that it's perfect in its perfection, that there is no lacking except for that separation, and that we stop distorting what our view of ourself is, because, you know, I don't know, that's one of my big ones is I have so many negative feelings about myself and the negative talk that up until this point and more so in the past, all day, it was all these negative things about myself, and like kind of quieting that voice and silencing it forever at one point, hopefully. That was a huge one for me. Number 3 is the distortions that we've created about ourselves, and that the direction is up to us. When really, you know, we talk about change or manifesting, and that's something I'm struggling with a little bit, because, you know, I know that I'm a very good manifester, but it concerns me that I'm thinking somehow I'm doing it on my own, or maybe up until now that has been my thinking and creating my whole life in my manifestations. But it's really with God that we're creating, and I'm not so much struggling with it, but I'm trying to learn the concept so I can understand it and how we create, instead of taking the creation away from God. I don't even know if I'm making sense with that. But anyway, so that's the origin of the separation, is those like 4 things, those things that we've created. I know I'm missing something because it's a huge one, but I don't want to ramble on too much. That all fear is ultimately reducible to the basic misperception that we have the ability to usurp the power of God. And when we think of this, we also have to realize that some people struggle with this concept a lot, that we are God, but it's not that. It's just that there's no separation between us and God once we have that sort of enlightenment. So the fear is that we have to do it all ourselves, that we're taking the power, that we have that power, and unless we do it right, we're going to mess it up. So there's that fear, because really God is within us. We are part, we are together, we are whole within him. That there is no reason to fear anything. I know someone, I don't remember who said it, that if you realized who walks with you, you would have no fear. And so that's within us at all times. We just have to realize it. Whatever lies you may believe are of no concern to the miracle, which can heal any of them with equal ease. So all of the fear that I am encountering on a day-to-day basis, if I can just let that go and realize that it's all going to be taken care of, those are the miracles that are happening. And that even though I have these misperceptions, like those 4 big misperceptions that we deal with, even though we have those, I don't need to even worry about it. Because a lot of times that struggle, like I know one of the things with the whole secret thing is that we have to have perfect thoughts in order for everything to work out. And if you don't have perfect thoughts, you're really going to screw everything up. You're going to hold everything positive that's coming to you back until you are thinking perfectly. And this is one of the biggest misperceptions too. It's like, whether you understand it or not, it's all going to be okay. Because, I mean, I don't know if it's even because, here I'm going to qualify that word because I'm thinking, because we're good people and because we're studying this and we're seeking consciousness, that's why it's going to be okay. But that's not true all the time either. Like, you know, things get solved for other people, you know, even though they have those misperceptions. So the power, it really is God. Let's see. In reality, you are perfectly unaffected by all expressions of lack of love. We can immediately correct the errors that come with fear. So that really struck me. In reality, you are perfectly unaffected by all expressions of lack of love. These can be from yourself and others, from yourself to others, or from others to yourself. So anytime, you know, we've done something, we've erred against someone, it's okay. It is okay. Illness is some form of external searching. Health is inner peace. I think Frida talked about this earlier. I do believe this, but also I struggle with this because I worry, you know, it's like somehow we bring on sickness to ourselves. Yes, we know that's true on some level, but on other levels, you know, when we see so much suffering from people who are terminal or whatever, you know, it's hard to kind of grasp that, that, you know, we can't say them, well, you obviously are erring majorly because you don't have, you know, you need to find inner peace and then you're going to be healed, you know. So I struggle with that one. It enables you to remain unshaken by lack of love from without and capable. So if you are without love, or if you have not been capable of giving love, it enables you to remain unshaken. So you are still okay. You are still okay when you become present, when you start working on these misperceptions, the 4 misperceptions, or the 4 ways we've kind of ruined that what we've created, that separation with God. We're still okay. So, through your acceptance of miracles, that is how we become okay. It enables you to remain unshaken by lack of love from without and capable through your acceptance of miracles, of correcting the conditions proceeding from lack of love in others. So, yeah, it's really, I'm thinking that the crux of this whole thing is the 4 things that we've done that have created the separation. And that's at the beginning of the chapter. So without wanting to ramble on, I know that I did, but I hope I covered some of the major points of it. Does anyone have any questions or insights about the chapter that you read? Please feel free to chime in. So maybe I did a really good job and I covered everything. Anybody?
I think you did
Thank you. I was
did
kidding. I
a
wasn't
really good
fishing,
job.
but I was kidding. Thank you.
I think the one that I shared earlier was the last section there where
Mhm.
it says peace is an attribute in you.
Mm-hmm.
And you cannot find it outside. And then also it enables you to remain unshaken by lack of love from without. Like sometimes, at least for me, like in my personal romantic relationships, I would sometimes think, well, why can't he this and why can't he that? And so with this, it's kind of like also accepting the other the person for for where they're at and not feeling like I need to measure myself based on their actions and their like their actions towards me. In
Right.
other words, my self-love, my inner peace is not reliant on what I project onto others' actions, and specifically like my romantic relationships with men.
Mhm.
Well, why didn't he this? And if he would have loved me, he would have done X, Y, and Z. Well, you know, this person has his own journey where he's at, and I need to, like, I grew up in a household where the men were always vilified. To this day, my mom vilifies if a man is not doing something. Oh, he's just horrible. He's this. So there's this lack of looking at others with compassion. So I think this last section here also speaks to compassion, not just for yourself when we do errors, but it also talks about that we shouldn't create ourselves, right? And then we shouldn't also create other people too. Like, he did this because he's an asshole, or he did this because blah, blah, blah. That's just like, and I'm not saying I don't do that, but, you know, I'm just saying, like, I'm becoming aware of that fact. And that spoke to me too, that it's also, I think that's it. Yeah.
Thank you. I think, yeah, you made some really good, you got some really good insight from that, because I didn't get that. And now I see what you're talking about. And that's true. It's like we create the misperceptions of other people. So I thank you. Anyone else? Well, okay then. Thank you for letting me talk about that one. I really enjoyed that. And I like, you know, honestly, it's keeping me accountable. You know, when I say that I'm going to do this, it's holding me accountable. I almost didn't get on at all, but knowing that, you know, I had said I wanted to do this, I got on. So I will do it again next week too. So thank you.
All right, Yvonne. So I'm going to just do a summary of chapter 2, section 1. Just my usual summary. So I've got in paragraph 1, Jesus explains the concepts of extension and projection. He explains what we are meant to create. He explains that how we project and he explains that how we project, I don't know what I wrote. He explains that how we project and demonstrates how our beliefs are the driving force behind our manifestations. Okay, how we project and how we believe are the driving forces behind our manifestations. I think that's where he's really talking about law of attraction. There, not that that's what all that he's talking about, but I think that touches on law of attraction. In paragraph 2, Jesus speaks of our detour into fear and introduces inner radiance, the place from which we create. In paragraph 3, Jesus speaks of the Garden of Eden as being a metaphor for a consciousness. It was a state in which nothing was needed. In paragraph 4, Jesus explains that we have a primary misperception that we can usurp the power of God. I would suggest that the word power be replaced with will to get another understanding of this, and that there is an escape from fear. The will of God, the power of God. Okay, got me. Got me. I understood myself. I didn't know what I was talking about. And then in paragraph 5, Jesus strips away all aspects of ego's story by saying, whatever lies you may believe are of no concern to the miracle, which can heal any of them with equal ease. All right. Excellent. Thank you, Yvonne. All right, so we can move on to Mindy, who's going to present Principles of Miracles number 3. And then she's going to do chapter 2, section 4. Thank you. Thank you. All right, Mindy, go for it.
Okay, I'm not really quite sure. I'm still getting the whole presenting thing down with you guys. But basically, the whole miracles, the cures, it's, the meaning of miracles, principles of miracles. So I'm on 3. Miracles occur naturally as expressions of love. The real miracle is the love that inspires them. In this sense, everything that comes from love is a miracle. It pretty much sums it up. So that's you know, it was a little confusing, not really confusing, but it kind of shed more light when I was doing chapter 2, section 4. But then again, it also talks about the whole thing throughout the entire book. Miracles are love, whenever they're through love. So yeah, I guess I don't even know what else to elaborate on it. It pretty much just sums it up. Let's see, how can I give an example? I guess when you're having a really difficult time and I guess when you want to create miracles, it's in that loving environment, that loving vibe that you're portraying out by, for example, when our friends are judging us on what it is that we're doing that's different than them, and they feel the need to give their their unwanted advice to, instead of having it trigger us, we can always turn that around into accepting it lovingly by not judging them back and just, realizing, well, that's what they think, and this is what I think, and out of that comes a miracle, because you're still kind of controlling your vibration throughout the day for things that will just start escalating and coming towards your way in quote unquote laws of attraction, if that makes sense. So there.
Cool. All right, girl. Does anybody have any input that they want to offer with this particular miracle, principle of miracles? My take on this one is that I personally saw or see Jesus as being the miracle worker, kind of like the primary miracle worker. And what I understand Jesus was doing is basically holding space for someone's perfection and looking at them as being always perfect. And I like using the example of the leper, because that's a really physical, like a fucked up physical disease. And, the idea is that, when you read that, if you're not looking at it closely, you kind of, I remember as a kid thinking, Jesus would look at them and then he would see them as whole, and the person would then be cured of the leprosy. And what I understand now is that maybe, what I thought was that when the person was cured of the leprosy went away. There was no more deterioration in the physical body. But I wonder now about that, because because I wonder if there needed to be that physical manifestation. And I could think, okay, it's Jesus who is doing it. So yeah, there was a manifestation of the physical. They probably had their skin automatically just become young, smooth, and beautiful, and all that kind of thing. But then it occurs to me that maybe it didn't happen that way, and maybe they were still healed, and maybe the miracle was actually occurring within Jesus. And the miracle and the love that he gave was the thing that inspired the miracle. And the miracle actually was just happening within himself. It's not that the other people had to receive the miracle. And so when I was reading this principle, this is what came to my mind. Because very often I think of the miracle as being the outcome. Oh, the miracle, I showed up, $5,000 showed up just when I needed to pay the last 2 months on the mortgage before the bank started foreclosing, whatever. And we always look at that miracle as being that money received. Well, actually, maybe the miracle occurred 3 months ago when I was, being in alignment and I didn't give in to, I don't know, I was looking on some horrifying scene and feeling the love that was present. And whereas I could have gone into seeing that as a horrifying scene, instead I saw it as an angelic transformation in that moment. Maybe that's when the miracle occurred within me, and the money manifesting was just the money manifesting, not the miracle. So the point that I'm trying to make with this is that miracles occur naturally as expressions of love. It's the real miracle is the love that inspires them. So the miracle is the love that inspires others to act, and the miracle is the love that inspires money to arrive, for me to be at the right place at the right time because I'm not resisting the universe. The miracle is me trusting and saying, I just know it's going to be okay. I'm going to go ahead and leap off of this cliff anyway. That's the miracle, not the stone that's arriving under my feet when I step. That's not the miracle. The miracle is the love that inspired the stone. I hope, does that make sense? Okay, y'all need to give me some feedback because I was just all over the place.
That makes perfect sense. I received $15,000 in the mail from a neighbor. And that was not the miracle. Yeah. She willed it to me because in the previous year and a half, there were about 3 months where I helped take care of her. She was dying of cancer. And the whole experience of every moment that I did something for her out of love, because I hardly knew the woman. We had maybe 2 meals together in the 10 years that we lived there. Those were all the miracles. And
yes.
So what you said is so true. It is, when we do embrace love and when we don't respond to things in fear, we're creating miracles for lifetimes to come. We're creating miracles for our community. We're creating miracles for our friends.
That's it. Yep. Thank you so much, Yvonne, for that feedback. Because that's exactly what I'm talking about. The miracle was not the $15,000. It was the love, and it's not like karma, but it might be a little, maybe karma is based on that. I'm not trying to make that connection, but I am trying to make that connection. I haven't worked out that connection. I'm just trying it on. But yes, it's the love that inspires the miracle. That's what I'm getting from that principle number 3. Who else wants to add anything? And Mindy, this is yours, so you go ahead and take over. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take it over. I just went on a tear.
Yeah, it's okay that you took over. That's fine. It's helping me out a lot.
Okay, excellent.
I've been kind of, I had a lot going on this week. It's just been kind of, whatever, I'm handling it.
Okay, excellent.
But
all right, cool.
Yeah, no, I love how I love both of your guys' input. I love the story too about the $15,000 and yeah,
excellent.
I know.
Very good.
I'm sorry,
So,
Mindy. I want to say goodbye before Mindy starts on the other one because I don't want to leave like I've always been leaving, just not saying goodbye. So I'm going to say goodbye to the group, and I'll see you all next week. And I'm sorry I won't miss your next one, but I'll be here next week. Okay.
Excellent.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye, sweetie. Have a good
Bye.
weekend.
You too.
Bye. Okay, Mindy, it's on you. We're going to do chapter 2, section 4.
Okay, hi again. Healing as release from fear. I had this all down before I started talking about everything at first. Okay, our today is matter and wait. Or sorry, I had my notes that I'm reading. Okay, the miracle is the means, the atonement is the principle, and healing is the result. That's what stuck with me throughout this whole thing. I can't really explain it right, but I get it every time I read it. Sometimes, and it's true because I get confused as well. Physical illness represents a belief in magic. So basically, the body can act wrongly only when it is representing to misthought. So by our misthoughts is when, okay, so the body isn't, I always get confused because when we think of mind, we think of the body and like, it's our actions that's creating the miracle, when in reality, it's actually our mind, which is, in my opinion, our spirit, kind of, I guess, the big light. So I always misconstrue magic for miracles. And magic and miracles are totally different. But for some reason, I've just always thought of them as the same. When it says right here, when it is understood that the mind, the only level of creation, cannot create beyond itself, neither type of confusion need a cure. Only the mind can create because spirit has already been created and the body is a learning device for the mind. So that stuck with me and I really liked it a lot. And in my notes, I put our body is matter and cannot create. Only the mind can create. Yeah, and the body is basically just the experience. So like when we're talking about illness, whether it be not just from us having a cold, but it could be illness and thinking.
Hey, Mindy.
Physical illness. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, so I have in my notes that the body can miscreate in the mind. The body, did you all have that, right? It says that the body can miscreate in the mind.
Where did you find that at?
I don't know.
I might have that.
It's in chapter, it's in paragraph 2, section 4, paragraph 2. Don't know.
I do have in my notes, the body has no power in itself. None creative
You mean to tell me I'm making up stuff now? I'm sorry. Hold on.
No, not at all. And what I got by that was, like what I kind of perceived in that would be like pills, like non-creative agents would be like pills. Like sometimes just because our mind will make the pill work, it's not really our body's taking it and, eating it. I don't know. But anyways, I'd like to find where you're talking about.
Sorry, it says it can be believed. It can be believed that, okay, wait. The error can take on 2 forms. It can be believed that the mind can miscreate in the body or that the body can miscreate in the mind. So that's kind of toward the end of paragraph 2. And the way I interpreted that was that when you feel things in your body, it can scare you. Like, you know how people have had like anxiety, like really bad panic attacks, and then they think that they're having a heart attack and they feel like they're dying? Or I don't know if you've ever had like such intense pain where you lose kind of control, you lose sight of yourself. So that's what I thought that it meant there, but I wanted to get your feedback on it.
I think so.
Does it make sense? But okay,
Yeah.
but that was what popped up in my head.
Yeah. No, I mean, it could be. It could go that way as well. I think. You know. Yeah.
I have that as the magical body emanation thingy. I don't know. That's the note I wrote. But okay, if you don't have any feedback on it, please just go ahead and finish your presentation.
Oh no, yeah. Basically, no, that's it. I don't really have like too much of an elaborate presentation, but I have highlighted some things that I really actually liked on here. The term, like, okay, so the body is merely part of your experience in the physical world. Its abilities can be and frequently are over evaluated. However, it is almost impossible to deny its existence in this world. Those who do so are engaging in particularly unworthy form of denial. And then I did highlight this part that I really like a lot. The term unworthy here implies only that it is not necessary to protect the mind by denying the unmindful. If one denies this unfortunate aspect of the mind's power, one is also denying the power itself. So basically, in a nutshell, I have always I confuse a lot the body and the mind together. It was my mind that's created my body. Does that make sense? In my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And then it says all material means, like it kind of makes sense in like where scientifically they say our body is matter. So matter doesn't really exist without the mind. Kind of mind blowing to me, but all material means that you accept as remedies for bodily ills are restatements of magic principles. This is the first step in believing that the body makes its own illness. It is a second misstep to attempt to heal it through non-creative agents. I don't know. What's your intake on that? What do you think about that?
I didn't quite understand where you're reading, or it seems a little bit out of context. It's a little disembodied. I'm looking at my notes, not at my book. So I would need a little bit more.
Mindy, I'm following you in the text. You're in paragraph 4.
Thank
all
you.
material means that you accept as remedies for bodily ills. I was reading somewhere, I don't know in which section, where it talks about the body being an altar, like that it's not actually.
I think that was in 3, section 3, or no, 2.
The beginning of we experience, and what I'm getting from this is that we experience through our physical manifestation. In other words, our bodies serve the function for us to be able to, like what we're doing now, we're using our brains to make meaning, shared meaning of the message. So we utilize our eyes to look at the text. We use our voice to express our thoughts to one another. We use our ears to hear each other. And in the same way, we create our own dis-ease. Like in yoga, they always talk about dis-ease, like disease. And I think we're taking it a little bit literally, like where, okay, this person has cancer or this person has this, so maybe they're not, their thought patterns are off. I think we're being a little bit literal. I think it's more like being silent enough within our own bodies to be able to be more receptive to what's real, like in the sense of the course, it would be, through meditation or through prayer, to be able to have a connection with God. But we get so caught up with the physical, like because we're reacting to things so much. Like, I didn't like what he said. I'm not, like, I'm hearing this and I'm interpreting this in my head, and I'm going to say this to this person like I'm reacting to them. I think that that's what being of the body means in this here, because it says all material means that you accept as remedies for bodily ills are reinstatement of magic principles. Like, sometimes we're like, well, I'm really stressed out, I'm going to go and get a massage. Well, that's cool. I mean, that's going to feel good, but the issues are still going to be there. What's causing you stress and is probably not going to be addressed by the massage. Something else.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, and that's
my take.
No, that's great. I love hearing everybody's take on it, because we all have our own takes on it. Whereas like the massage, I never really thought about the massage. I was taking it more of like pills or, any type of quick fixes like that. But no, that's great. I love hearing everybody's input in like how they take it. I think that's great, because I mean, I may take it this way this week, but next week I may take it another way, and that's just in my, I accept that. I'm good with it. But yeah, no, yeah, that's another way of thinking about it. Thank you.
Cool. Is there anything else you want to add, or does anybody else want to add anything?
Yeah, no, I pretty much, I just, that was my take on it. And like I said, each time I read anything in here, it's like every single time it's like different. I love it. So I'm always feeling like I'm learning something different.
Yeah, no doubt. It's good.
Yeah. But like I said, some of the, and then the part where, where she had quoted the all material means that you accept as remedies for the bodily ills are restatements of magical principles. I love that part. And then right following it gives the example of this is the first step in believing that the body makes its own illness. It is a second misstep to attempt to heal it through non-creative agents. And then sometimes the illness has sufficiently strong hold over the mind to render a person temporarily inaccessible to the atonement. I really liked this section that I, picked. I liked it because it, I kept listening to it over and over, and then I kept reading it over and over, and like when you just get something to, yeah.
Excellent.
Okay, I'm also looking at that as like illness being something of the mind, like our perception, like we could be like there have been times when I have felt like mentally ill and it's people in my culture, okay, I'm Colombian and my mom's Colombian, my dad's Ecuadorian. I grew up in a very Catholic household. So, you don't talk about mental illness, but because you're supposed to just, if you believe in God, then there's a shame. There's a shame that goes along with feeling completely, like not well, okay? So what I'm appreciating about reading this is that even when we are feeling ill, like mentally ill, that there's a purpose for that too, that it's an error, but we're going through the process of correcting it.
Yeah.
So that's also, like, I know with the illness, the reference to illness, we're focusing more on like maybe physical things like cancer and stuff like that. But I think a lot of it too, I took it more like mental illness. Like there's like that's how I took it more.
Yeah, Frida, I hear you, and it's really interesting. I know that Catholicism or any kind of a religious, what I want to say is that it's not just this religious community. I still think in the secular community, we still view mental illness as this kind of, flawed way of being, as opposed to respecting it as its own way of being. And also being someone who has, I used to be medicated and I don't do medication anymore. And I don't live my life like most people live my life. Most people would say my life is very eccentric. But it's this making space for it and understanding that I'm creating in a different way. And really, though, the only person who's going to give me any sympathy for that is just myself. I don't need to justify anything for it. I don't have to justify myself, for anyone.
Well,
Right.
Also, like when people, like when you have gone through, like when I've gone through stages of mental illness, my mom's response is like, well, did you go to church?
Oh, shit.
Or she would, and I don't want to vilify my mom. Or
no,
she
of
would
course not.
Little crucifixes, like little crosses. Did you put your cross on? That kind of thing. And there was this shame. There was this terrible shame. And I think a lot, and maybe this is just my own thought, but I think a lot of judgment comes to people that say, you know what, I'm depressed, or I'm this. There's like very few people that actually express that. Like I have a friend who's constantly like avoiding talking about those things because she's a positive thinker, and kind of like, there's like this denial that there's anything wrong. And I'm thinking, in the Course in Miracles, you're not denying that you're going to go through this. There's no denial. There's actually a section that talks about the denial in the atonement will be the problem. It's not the denial of the error. So
you're saying that it's the denial of atonement?
There's a section in like section 4 talks about that.
I thought I saw that somewhere. Okay.
Yeah, major step in the atonement plan is to undo error at all levels. Sickness or not right-mindedness is the result of level confusion. So it talks about not right-mindedness.
Wait, is that in paragraph 2, Frida?
The body is so section 4, right?
Yeah, paragraph 2.
2.
Yeah,
the major
okay, thank
step
you.
in the atonement plan is to undo error at all levels.
Yep.
Okay, so the error is like fear and anxiety and feeling lack of, right? Well, in order for there to be an atonement, there has to be error. One can't exist without the other.
Well, does it? Because if atonement is to be in alignment, why does there have to be error? Is atonement just not? You can't just be atoned if you've never had error. Like.
Yeah. Well, my interpretation is that because we have free will, then there will be times because of the separation, because there is that separation, there will be times when because of our humanity and our free will, we will be in error. And then therefore, there's this process.
Yes, I got you, Frida. Yes, thank you. Yes.
So it's acknowledging that it's part of it. It's not the shame thing, like.
Yes, I get your point. I'm sorry. That totally went over my head. I got it now, though. I'm back.
Okay.
Hey, I just wanted to add one quick thing in there before I have to start getting ready, but I'm still going to be listening. I'm actually almost home right now, but I just wanted to say it's. I'm not really quite sure how. Well, I wasn't sure what your take on was when you said that you were, not feeling very well in the mind, and you talked to your mom and she said, well, did you go to church? Or she brought up the crucifix. But back then, I probably wouldn't have related. If my grandmother would have said something like that to me, I would have, thought, oh, whatever. But whereas like now and today, doing my studies, not just through A Course in Miracles, but through my spirituality, I get it. I totally get it 100%, because to each their own, where some people go to church and it makes them feel better. I got you guys that make me feel good, these days. In the past, I've gone to church. I think it's the studying and the group sessions that make you feel closer to God. And that's the way that I look at it, not necessarily in the whole religious of Catholicism. Because, I was born Catholic as well, but, or baptized Catholic as well. But I guess what I'm trying to say is I get what she was saying. Did you do your prayers, by the crucifix and doing, or the rosaries or whichever, or did you go to church? I
get what she's doing, and I've gone through stages of like just really understanding that it's coming from a loving, but it's also it puts a lot of shame to because it negates the error,
the experience.
The experience. There's a reason why we are here. Yeah. There's a reason why we feel what we feel. People feel depressed. If people feel a certain way, there's a reason.
Yes,
we shouldn't be dismissive of it.
Exactly.
And I think like that's why this concept of shadow work that Crystalline talks about for me has been very healing, because for so long it was like, well, if you're really attuned to God, or if you're a spiritual person, you're never going to feel like this. So there was like a shame, whereas the Course in Miracles doesn't say that. It acknowledges the fact that there is illness, but there's no shame that goes along with it, because it says that it's part of it. It's just part of our existence, and there's no shame to it. Whereas the way that I've been taught through having gone through Catholic schools all my life, in an all-girls Catholic school for 4 years, there's like the whole sex thing being another thing too, that was a taboo thing. There's all this like stuff that you're not supposed to.
Yeah, and I wasn't raised Catholic, but I had a very Catholic grandmother who was a very dominant force in my upbringing. And for me, it wasn't about, oh, did you go to church? Because, there's good messages in church, and, you'll be with your community in church. I was never once, that church was never once used in that way. If it was, I probably would have had a better feeling of going to church with my grandmother. For me, it was always, you didn't go to church, you're bad, and that's why you feel bad, and that's why you don't, you can't get your mind together, because it's almost like you're cursed. And
exactly, that's exactly it.
That's the thing, right? Because it would have been a very different story if my grandmother had said to me, well, when you go to church, there's a good message and God loves you. But no, it was always children are evil. And if you don't go to church, you're going to get damned even more than you're already damned, because you're damned.
Yeah, you see, well, since you don't believe, so this is why you're fucked up in the head.
This is what I'm talking about. This is
the problem. Judgment part.
This is the problem.
There's like a difference.
Yeah, big difference.
A big difference. So thank you for understanding.
Yeah, I remembered that. It hit me when you said, I'm like, she thought you were damned. She was like, you're going to be cursed. Like, that's not okay. Don't tell a child that. Okay, sorry, Mindy, we just totally went off on a tangent here. Is there anything else you want to add about this section, or you're good? I know you're probably getting dressed. You've covered all the whole thing.
Yeah. No. Actually, yeah, no, I am getting dressed right now for work. miracle. I'm gonna do this in like 10 minutes here. But I totally agree. I can empathize with both situations. Because I can empathize from how your parents or your grandmother was kind of being judgmental. I had one grandmother that may have been a little more judgmental than the other. The one on my mother's side was constantly, I always asked questions, and the one on my mother's side was constantly, well, no, you can't do that because you don't believe, and if you don't believe, then that's bad and you can go to hell. So I always thought that hell and heaven was a good place and a bad place, whereas I had another grandmother on my father's side, who engaged in my questions, who fed off of. I took a lot more after her because she it was okay for me to ask questions, and believe it or not, she was the one who went to church more. She was Catholic, and she had her, she was never judgmental, and she taught me, and so it was a different, like I said, I can empathize in what you guys are talking about, as well as knowing what I went through as well. So it's when my grandmother would say to me, "Did you go to church?" It triggered in my mind of, "Did you go to your support group?" That was my support group. But I never really went to church so much. You guys can be considered my church. It's the whole potato. It's the whole, different languages, but saying the same thing type thing.
Got you.
Then different outlooks on them. But yeah.
All right.
Anyways,
Excellent.
Sorry. Carry on.
Excellent. Thank you, Mindy. All right. So just because of time, I want to not give my summary on chapter 4. I want to get to the last two presentations because it's already 7:00. So let's see. Chapter 2, section 3 is to be done by, Chapter 2, section 2 is to be done by Frida, and chapter 2, section 3 is to be done by Andrea. So should we just go in that order? Frida, you go next, or what do you think?
Is Andrea with us? Because I don't see her.
Yes, she's there. She's just got a very...
Oh, okay.
Oh, there she is. She's there, and she's gorgeous. Can't hear you. Oh, because you're muted. Yes, you're muted, Andrea.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I can
you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I had to get ready for work because the last 2 weeks I've been late.
Oh.
So
that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, and you know what we're gonna do? I'm gonna bring out a little timer, and we're gonna do these at like no more than 5 minutes each for our presentations. Okay. Don't worry about it for the future. But yes, Andrea, would you like to go first so that you can get done?
That would be fine. I actually do want to add a little something to the last conversation we were having.
Please.
Just because for me, everybody was talking about how the guilt came up with church, and I was brought up Catholic as well.
Wow.
My mother worked for the priest, and for me, it was something I had to go to, and I was just always bored with it. It was that same ritual over and over. But at some point in my life, I did find like going to the church empty and feeling the energy there was such a solace in that for me, not the actual going for church. And what's ironic to me now is the guilt comes when I'm not in alignment, and knowing when I don't feel well, I'm not in alignment. And I have guilt from that. Like I have guilt. What am I doing wrong? Why am I feeling like this? I know better. I shouldn't be sick. And there's so much guilt for me in this work, I feel like, which is interesting to me that I hear so many other people from their background when it's completely the flip for me.
When you say there's guilt in this work, is it that when you say, are you meaning A Course in Miracles is making you feel guilty, or the New Age kind of lifestyle?
I think the New Age kind of lifestyle, and just in the whole...
Too much responsibility to have to think the right thoughts.
Yes.
And it's like, does that make sense?
Yes.
Andrea, that's what I was referring to earlier. Like the fact that there's this shame, like, oh, if you were truly enlightened, you wouldn't be feeling this way. If you were truly enlightened, you wouldn't be annoyed with the person that just said this, or if you were truly enlightened, you wouldn't, you know, feel what you're feeling, because there's this idea of positive, negative. This is good. This is bad. This is like, and so there's like there's another illusion, right? There's an illusion of, you know, we're just replacing one thing for another. And, and the way I see it is that there's, you know, going back to that unconditional love that's in chapter 1, is that, yeah, there will be times, because we're human, but we have to go back and realize that that's just part of the journey as well.
Yep. Andrea, got any more feedback on that?
No, just thank you for all your input. And it was just something that I was feeling and, you know, felt the need to express. So thank you both.
It makes sense though. You know, it's like after I left my family, I loved going to church, you know, like after I went and got myself baptized when I was 15, but I did it at my church in my way, not at my grandmother's church. And I never went to my grandmother's church. And even as an adult, you know, when I was living with my grandparents, I went to church with them one time, and those same feelings came up in that same way of, oh, you have to be at church and you have to do this, and what, you don't come to church here, and all this kind of thing, and all the guilt people were laying on me. Totally different than the church I went to, Dr. Fred Price at the Crenshaw Christian Center. Yes. Totally different vibe, where everybody could sing and it was all welcoming. Totally different experience. It's not to say that one religion is better than the other. It's just about how you experience it and what they shove down your throat. Oh my God.
Right. I just wanted to add something to that too, real quick, because, you know, of course, I've got a couple of roommates that I live with, and one of them does go to church a lot. And so she just doesn't get me, if that makes sense, because there's no, how do I explain it? I'm sure you guys can understand what I'm talking about, because we've just been talking about it the whole time. But like, I guess it's kind of like she still keeps talking about, she still thinks I don't go to church when I do, but my church, it's my own church, because it's not like in a building. And, you know, my church was today at Starbucks. You know, like that's for me. That's what helps me. And just because I do things differently and I don't go and listen to a pastor or a priest doesn't mean I don't believe in God.
Well, and I'm sure, like, does she sit down every day and read A Course in Miracles and like muddle through and engage with her community every day on Facebook? You know, like giving input and supporting other people, all this kind of stuff. I get it.
Right. And the thing is that, like, you know, it's not, there's no way of me to even try to explain it. So I don't have the desire to try to explain my case, honestly. And I don't care what she thinks about me, if that makes sense. You know, like I don't care. So but it hurts her feelings that I don't care. But do you see? Like I'm not, I don't understand how to explain it. So I just kind of stopped and just like don't talk about it to her.
Yeah, let her have her feelings, maybe. Yeah.
Because I just, you know, honestly, I don't care. And just because I don't care doesn't mean I don't love that person. But I just really don't care what anybody thinks about me. And these are my beliefs. And I respect other people for their own beliefs. And I don't care if they respect me for my beliefs or not, because I know I respect myself. Excellent.
Very good. All right. So, Andrea, I think we better get on to you so you can get your thing done. Okay. And then we can get through Frida, and then we can move on.
Okay. Let me pull my notes up. Sorry.
Okay. Excellent.
So I had the altar of God.
Yes.
And it's funny because as I'm even looking at it now, I'm seeing things differently even from when I did it.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. And it's definitely not, it's just small notes that I had written on the topic. So it's not a 7-minute presentation.
Cool. Fine.
So I wrote in quotes, because I pulled from the book. It says, you have to realize the temple is not a structure at all. True holiness lies in the inner altar. So atonement in physical terms is impossible, it says. The altar can only be seen with spiritual sight, perfect vision, and clarity. The atonement is the only gift that is worthy of being offered at the altar. The altar is perfection and will receive nothing less. I do actually have to preface this a little bit by saying, I think it was Sarah. Was it Sarah who was that her name? Who broke down the origin of atonement?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Every time I read that now, I don't read it or see it as atonement. I see it as at-one-ment.
Me too.
Right?
It's
So
great. It's
a
really
whole
good.
different meaning to me. So even as I'm reading it right now and saying atonement, because I know that's the way I'm supposed to say it, it's not how I read it. Or it's so funny you do too now, because it's really at-one-ment is what I'm writing when I write it.
Yeah.
It's so funny. And I wrote it here too and broke it down that way. It says the altar is perfection and will receive nothing less. To me, the altar itself is at-one-ment. No separation, perfect unconditional love. This is all it sees, all it knows. If you are truly present at the altar, you are at one with God, with all of creation, and with all of mankind. So that's my little presentation.
Excellent. That there's a little presentation. It doesn't matter. It's an opportunity for us to all work through it together.
Okay.
Is there anything in particular, like how would you, that quote that you gave, like how would you apply that to your life? What does it have to do with you today?
I think for me, it's just to not put so much emphasis on the physical.
Right?
It,
Mm-hmm.
which I find ironic that I just put makeup on and got ready, but
Yeah. I think
But
that's,
Andrea, there's nothing, you see, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, going back to what you were saying earlier, like, oh, if I'm this, if I'm that, then I should this. If you enjoy putting makeup on and doing something with your hair like that, I don't think that means that you're going away from it.
I think that, and Frida, I'm just going to jump in there. Like, I think that A Course in Miracles, part of the work is to understand that, like what from that last section or from section 1, chapter 2, section 1, God creates by extension. And he's taught us to create by extending. And that means, to me, it means that he allows that God naturally flows. God doesn't go out and work for anything. God naturally flows. So the way I would see this is God flows or extends outward. Andrea is born. Andrea feels beautiful. She feels her body. She works out. She eats vegan. She extends herself into the world by choosing foods that nurture the body. She puts on makeup. It's an extension of Andrea versus, remember in that section, it was extension versus projection. Projection is when you take your egoic perspective and you project that onto the world. So it would be different, Andrea extending herself into the world with makeup versus Andrea projecting her ego's fears. I'm not attractive unless I wear makeup, so therefore I'm putting on the makeup. Same action, different way of creating. Does that make sense?
yes.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I like the way you explained that, because
Totally.
there is a lot of I can just speak for myself. There is a lot of joy about being in the body as well.
Yeah.
So and I talk about, I think I posted about, the physicality of it. It's, like when Crystalline shares where she's done a run, there's like there's certain things of the body that we don't need to negate just because we're studying this.
Spiritual beings, yes, yes.
We're also physical, and there's a physicality that is enjoyable. You know, going for a hike, feeling the sun in your face.
Yes.
You know, hugging someone, all that.
Yes. Eating. Eating. Sex.
Yes.
Getting a
The
massage.
S word, sex.
Yes, using the F word, sex. Totally, man. Yeah. I mean, and I guess that's the, you know, going back to my beef that I had earlier, I'm really glad the conversation has unfolded that in the way that it has, because I feel like, you know, I had that pushback from my friends where it's like, you know, you're getting caught up in the physical world, you know, you're so caught up, blah, blah, blah. But actually, yes, it's pleasurable to be in this physical world. But I think that A Course in Miracles is teaching us to stop resisting even the physical world, you know? And it's the ego that projects. It's resistance that makes us project. We resist our source. We resist God. We resist our own inner radiance. So when we're talking about law of attraction, and there's the idea of, oh, I have to have perfect thoughts. It stresses me out if I don't have perfect thoughts. Well, actually, you don't have to have perfect thoughts, but you're more powerful when you have alignment with your own radiance. It's not, I want a house, I need to think positive thoughts about the house. It's that I want a house, I know what I need to do to get a house. It's not that you have to have the money for a mortgage. It's not that you have to have good credit. It's not that you have to even know where you want to live. It's that you have to have this in alignment with this. And if your inner radiance says, I am light, I can have it all, I'm extension, I have God here, all I need to do is just know, the only thing you have to do is just remove your not knowing from your body. And the not knowing is your doubt, your fear, your focus on money, your focus on, you know, all the stuff that we focus on that blocks us from our natural manifestation of all of our heart's desires. Does that make sense? It's like Law of Attraction 101 is not actually about what you think, because you've seen yourself have super negative, fucked up thoughts and still have something good that you wanted come to you. So that right there says that your thoughts are not the point of attraction. The point of attraction is how you feel, what you believe. What you believe influences how you feel. So if you say 1,000 times a day, you could repeat it from now until the next 3 years, I have $1 million coming to me. I have $1 million coming to me. I have $1 million coming to me. But you have a belief that says, I'm never going to get $1 million. This is never going to happen. This repeating it is not going to work. That is the law of attraction. It's not here. It's not here. It's in your body. It's the vibration that you hold. It's your frequency. And frequency is determined by how you feel. A Course in Miracles is helping us realize that we have pure, unadulterated frequency, and that everything we want is ours, whether it's good health or whether it's, you know, a new car or a boyfriend. Just saying. All right. Who's next? Andrea, are you done? Are you done? Is that a cat?
It's a dog, and
I want to see that dog. Can we see that dog?
Say hi. I have lots of little ones. Karma, say hi. Say hi.
Oh,
Say
Karma.
hi. You're so
Karma.
pretty. Say hi, Karma.
Hi, Karma. Oh my gosh. I love dogs so much.
me too. Oh, we're stuck on my headphones.
I love dogs so much. I kind of feel like I can cry when I see them. And I saw a little, what is that dog? They say they're not very bright, but they are so damn cute. Oh, Jesus. A cocker
yeah.
spaniel, a golden
Oh.
cocker spaniel, maybe like a 5-month-old puppy. Oh, oh my God, I wanted to cry. So beautiful and warm and sweet. Oh, okay, sorry, going on. All right, so I'm going to just give you my quick summary of the altar of God. In paragraph 1, Jesus talks about the ego-body connection and how its distorted beliefs make us feel like we are reaching at one-ment when we are in fact pulling away from it. He indicates that our incorrect use of the body comes from defense against the at one-ment. Jesus goes on to indicate that seeing the body as a temple is the first step in correcting the current use of the body. But it is only a part of the process. He says that at one-ment does not happen in the body. It has to happen at the level of thought or mind. He says the true temple where at one-ment takes place is at the inner altar around which everything else is built. The inner altar. In paragraph 2, Jesus reiterates that fear did not exist before the separation, and so the mind did not use the faculties to understand fear, although the mind had the ability to create separation and fear. After fear and separation are undone by the miracle, the temple will be restored and the altar opened to receive the at one-ment. In paragraph 3, Jesus indicates that everyone will accept at one-ment because it is a natural aspect of our existence. It's like death. You know you're going to do it sometime. In paragraph 4, Jesus explains that spiritual vision cannot see error and only sees at one-ment. This tells us how to see everything in practice. When we connect to the altar within, we understand that we have to cut through the debris and get down to brass tacks. Truth and love are all that exist. Spiritual vision does not begin in the mind. Spiritual vision uses the mind. The mind benefits from this because it can then work beyond time and space where it is most powerful. The mind will not tolerate delay since it's unnecessary. What? Okay, I'm going to stop that part. Okay, sorry. Going into paragraph 5. Sometimes my notes are just straight up crazy pants. In paragraph 5, Jesus says that we are entitled to perfect trust, but we opt for cheap substitutes. I don't think he used those words, cheap substitutes. He states that the only gift precious enough to be offered at the altar of God is at one-ment. And that's all I have. All right. There we go. Any questions? All right, turning it over to Ms. Frida to do the final section.
Okay.
Which is actually the second section, right?
Yeah, so I actually made a mistake and I thought I was presenting on section 4. So I didn't prepare to present on section 2, but that's okay because I can just share what I highlighted. Okay.
Awesome.
So I read
awesome.
it. The atonement as defense. So with this one, it talks about that we have that we can do anything, right? Because we have the ability to be in alignment, and we have the ability to not be in alignment. So in other words, we have a choice. That's where free will comes from. So paragraph 1 talks about the fact that we do have that ability, okay? And but one cannot exist at the same time that the other exists, okay? So if you look at paragraph 1, it says there's nothing they cannot do, but they cannot be performed in the spirit of doubt and fear. So in other words, you can't, if you're being fearful and doubtful and all of that, then you can't be in alignment. So that's paragraph 1. So there's another section here where it says your understanding will then inevitably value wrongly, and by endowing all thoughts with equal power will inevitably destroy peace. So I think that's why we're going through the lessons where we're like looking at, okay, this thought about, like I was on lesson 16 yesterday, this thought about so-and-so is not a neutral thought because I have no neutral thoughts. So we do have the choice of the kinds of illusions. Like if we focus on the thinking on that regard, then we can destroy our own peace. Okay. So so that's why the title of this section is The Atonement as Defense, because it recognizes the fact that as human beings, like I said before, we will create our own perceptions. That's where free will comes, that we are free to perceive things the way we want. And the work is in working to align ourselves in order to correct those misperceptions. And that our own, and then in section 2, so basically section 1 says we have the ability to do both, okay? That because we have free will. Section number 2 then talks about that we do have a defense to that which we feel, because even during this conversation today, we've all shared moments where we have felt overwhelmed, frustrated, and all this stuff throughout the week. Section 2 says that we do have a protection against that, and that's the atonement. However, it doesn't say that that's a bad thing. So there's no shame that comes with it. It just says we do that because we have the ability to do so. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does to me.
Yeah, and then in section 3, it just starts then talking about, well, what process, like how do we defend ourselves from that? Like you can defend truth as well as error. So in other words, I can justify why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. Like, oh, well, you know, I'm have anxiety because I don't have a job, and or you know, we just hold on to these fears, right? We get so caught up with like if somebody says, oh, don't worry, things will be fine, we become defensive and say, well, you know, easy for you to say, you're not in my shoes, blah, blah, blah. And then you get all caught up in that. You're defending your error. Okay, so if you look at section 3, it says you can defend truth as well as error. So I can sit here and I can say, well, there's a reason I'm feeling unloved. You know, I haven't had a boyfriend in a long time. You know, like stuff like that. So we have this mind where we can rationalize why we feel bad, or why we feel doubt, why we feel fear, why we feel all these things. But we can also choose to defend truth. So in that, then it says the real questions are, what do you treasure and how much do you treasure it? So that's where we then decide, am I going to treasure defending my error, or am I going to treasure my own atonement? Because it's not saying that you're not going to feel those things. It's making the choice. To me, that was very powerful this week, because that has actually brought like a lot of peace. Because there are times when I will feel something and I'll just be like, I understand why I feel that, but where is that leading me to? Is it leading me to the truth, or is it leading me to, you know, being, you know, like thinking in the lack of? And so that's section 3. And then section 4 says the atonement is the only defense that cannot be used destructively because it is not a device you made. So when we opt to choose the mindset of lack, that's destructive. However, if we choose the truth, which is the atonement, that that is never destructive. And that's section 4. The principle was love, and the atonement was the act of love. Acts were not necessarily before the separation. So the reason we go through this process is because there is a separation, you know, like we're still asleep. We haven't awoken.
Yep.
And then in the next page, section 5, I didn't highlight anything in section 5. It does talk about the sonship. And I think my own take on the sonship is the fact that through our relationships, and this week being, you know, like Valentine's Day, Marianne Williamson did this whole talk on intimacy. And I listened to it, and she says relationships are our opportunity to work on ourselves. So whatever comes up, it's our choice to work on it. And I think that that's that the section 5 talks about the sonship, where there's these things that we feel like lack or doubt and lack of love and all that. They happen in relationship to either our experiences with other people or with like constructs that society puts upon us, right? So there's a reason why we are on earth, because we have to be on earth in order for us to become atoned. And then the last section, section 7, it says that the atonement is a total commitment. So again, it emphasizes the fact that yes, there are going to be parts of our times in our lives when we're going to feel doubt and fear and all that, because we have the ability, right, to think that, but that we need to be committed to our becoming one. You may still think this is associated with loss, a mistake, all the separated sons of God make in one way or another. It is hard to believe a defense that cannot attack in the best defense. So in other words, all of us are going to go through these periods of feeling lack and all of that, but it's our own commitment to bringing ourselves back to being one. And that it doesn't mean like it talks about the meek shall inherit the earth. In other words, that whenever we feel that thinking coming on, like lack of and all of that, that we should come to it from a place of love. Like, you know how, I don't know if any of you have ever done something that you feel like, damn, that was wrong, and you beat yourself up for it. And you're like, you start like, you know, just beating yourself up, like, I can't believe I did that. That's so messed up, or what's wrong with me, and this and that. So section 7 talks about the fact that you can't like come at yourself that way, because that's not coming from a place of love. So that shaming, that when you shame yourself and you think, I can't believe I did this, and if you're actually not going about atonement in the right way, that you actually have to be soft with yourself. You have to be soft with yourself, and you have to be soft with others. And in that way, it says, the meek shall inherit the land or the earth. And then lastly, I highlighted the miracle turns the defense of atonement to your real protection. And as you become more and more secure, you assume your natural talent of protecting others, knowing yourself as both a brother and a son. So what that means is that the same way that we show love for ourselves, then we will start then realizing and projecting that to others as well.
Excellent.
So that's what section 2 is about for me, the atonement as defense.
Great. Great presentation, Frida.
Thank you.
Yeah, good insights. Does anybody have anything they want to throw in there? That was very thorough. Lots of good talking points. I would just say just the last part that you highlight, not the last part, but in that last paragraph, I think you highlighted it is hard to believe a defense that cannot attack. Attack is the best defense. Yeah. That makes me think about what's happening in politics and what is not happening in politics. You know, it's kind of like, you know, we have a president who's like, we need to kind of like go on the defensive. We have to go on the defensive, you know, because we're being threatened by all these immigrants that want to come in. You know, the immigrants are coming. The immigrants are coming. They're going to take away our jobs and our rights and our air, you know, and all the land. They're going to take all the land. And like, okay, if you really had that kind of fear, you know, against people, and I think that's totally, I think that's called xenophobia. And I think that's xenophobia, right? And which is really just, I think that's absolutely wrong thinking. But that idea of, you know, the best defense is one that doesn't attack lets me think about kind of my first instinct when Donald Trump was elected president. All my friends were freaking out, you know, and they're looking and they're saying there are hate crimes that are skyrocketing and, you know, these attacks against women and everything's going to fall apart. And I'm like, okay. And then they're like, we got to do something. And I remember thinking, well, first thing you have to do is, you know, first thing you have to do is look at what's going on in here in your heart. That was my first instinct. I'm like, this is a reflection of what's happening within us all. And we need to look at what's happening to us as a nation. We don't need to go on the defensive and try and take Donald Trump out. That's not the solution. The solution is to see what's going on with our collective consciousness, fix it here in the heart, find unity, and then go forward. And I think that's what they mean. The meek shall inherit the earth. It's this idea that we don't have to go outward and fight first. First, we go inward. We find a sense of balance, calm, a sense of peace, and then we can go forward. That's my point on that, Frida. Turning it back over to you.
Yeah, actually, I'm glad that you brought it back to what we discussed earlier in regards to politics. I'm looking at my notes here, and this week I was looking at a video about this, and I can't pronounce his name. He was like a Vietnamese, or he is a Vietnamese activist, and I guess MLK had recommended him for a Nobel Peace Prize, and he talked about exactly that, like what you were saying. You were saying about being political, but at the same time looking at what's inside yourself, kind of like the MLK, the civil rights movement, the nonviolence movements and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. That's what that kind of reminded me of.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And are you talking about Thich Nhat Hanh?
Yes, I can't pronounce that word.
Yeah, I don't think I pronounced it right either. I really just tried to make it up as I go along.
I found like somebody had put up a link and I was just like, oh my gosh, you know, he comes about it in that regard.
Got you. Cool. Yeah, very definitely appreciate that. Yeah, for sure. Cool. Does anybody else want to add anything to Frida's, to this section, section 2?
I was just going to say, it reminded me of the Mother Teresa when I was looking it up because I'm like, actually Marianne always spoke about that. The quote is actually, I was once asked why I don't participate in anti-war demonstrations. I said, I will never do that. But as soon as you have a pro-peace rally, I'll be there.
Oh, wow. Yes. But that's, okay, look, bringing this back to law of attraction, just going to hop in here, Frida. Law of attraction, according to Abraham, well, and even for myself, right? I do a lot of shadow work, as you all know. But one of the things that I have to do with shadow work is also light work. So I do my shadow work, boom, boom, boom. It goes down on paper, feel my feelings. But what I have to do is go in and advocate for the thing that I want, to focus on the peace, to promote that and create from that same place. It's like if you give all of your attention to the negative, to the anti-war, it's resistance and it's all about war. It's still about war. Your focus is still war when you go to an anti-war rally. However, you go to a pro-peace rally, your focus is all about peace. It's pro-peace. Just saying, yes, yes, yes. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you.
All right. Does anybody else want to add anything? Frida, do you want to go on, or should I just go ahead and give our summary here?
You can go ahead and do your summary. Thank you.
Okay. I've got altar of God. Where do you begin? I have so many. No, it's the atonement as defense, right? Okay. In paragraph 1. All right. In paragraph 1, Jesus confirms our ability to perform miracles. And he explains that miracles cannot be performed in the spirit of doubt or fear. And he explains that the hindrance to their successful execution is fear and doubt, reminding us that fear and doubt are a reinforcement of an idea that something can hurt you. Just like an anti-war rally is the reinforcement that war can hurt you. I did not have that in my notes. I just threw that in. Okay. He extols that our power is in our hearts, not our minds, and we can choose to identify with either one. Identifying with the heart is identifying with the Christ consciousness. Identifying with the mind is identifying with the ego. He goes on to demonstrate that your beliefs follow your values. Hold on, sorry. Summary, not notes. In paragraph 2, Jesus talks about denial as a protective device. He extols that denial of the truth is miscreation and leads to projections by the ego. Okay. In paragraph 3, Jesus talks about taking hold of the workings of the ego and transmuting its process to that of the divine ego. He states that we can defend the truth just as well as we can defend error. Here Jesus is challenging us to rethink our thinking and integrate a new way of using our minds. He's encouraging and teaching us to take back our minds to serve us and not allow us to serve it. In paragraph 4, Jesus shares that the at-one-ment is our only real defense because it's something that has been extended to us by God. He explains that the at-one-ment is pure love and as such has been in effect since Genesis. He explains that the love has always been present, but until separation, it was never necessary to make love in this form an action. So in a sense, the at-one-ment is a shaping and molding of love into a specific tool. Okay. Okay. In paragraph 5, Jesus goes on to explain that the at-one-ment is a tool in action. And Jesus goes on to explain that the at-one-ment as a tool in action was inserted into the dream so that it could fulfill its function of awakening and uniting the sonship. It is the very last lesson because once it is accepted by us all, we will be united in peace and love. There's nothing left to learn. And so even the learning ends because it has become knowledge or the remembering of who we are. Until then, though, until that point, we are in a state of learning, and the more we practice our daily lessons and embrace these concepts fully, the better learners we become. In paragraph 6, Jesus deciphers evolution. He indicates that we experience evolution spatially and chronologically as we advance through a series of steps. But he points out that because every step we take forward brings us back to purity or back to the beginning, evolution is actually neither spatial nor chronological. In this section, he also does away with the ego story by very gently erasing the need to revisit our past to enable a corrected future. Jesus acknowledges our stories and indicates that they are the past. The atonement does away with the past stories as well as the past thought processes. The atonement does away with the story as it does away with time. The less involved with the story we are, the less involved with time we are. In paragraph 7, Jesus points out the no half-ass approach to the atonement. He establishes it as an all-in deal. We don't get, no, we still get, okay. All right, this I think might be important. I'll throw it in. He acknowledges that this might feel like a loss because we're giving up our stories completely. Yes, I think this is addressing my issue this morning. He acknowledged that we might feel like loss, that it might feel like we're losing something because we're giving up our stories. We're giving up our old way of being, an old way of living by accepting the at-one-ment. He acknowledges that we are in attack defense mode and that we will feel as if everything we have built and sacrificed has been for nothing. The thing is, that he's also implying, however, is that we still get to keep the world around us. We simply must awaken from the dream and release ourselves and the world from the dream's hold and its limitations. This reminds me of the Matrix, when you are in the pod and your thoughts are being projected into the computer-generated reality. And in this section, Jesus is saying, look, you get to get up and you don't have to buy into those illusions. You can actually come into the real world and have this power here. But you got to let go of your stories. You have to stop holding on to all that stuff, all those beliefs that are negatives, all those past woundings. You have to let go of the woundings. You have to let go of the old negative belief systems. You have to come into your heart and live from your heart and the inner radiance that's there. Okay, and he acknowledges that the curative quality of the atonement is the best defense, even though it does not have an edge that attacks. He refutes the double-sided attack of our projective defenses as weak because it is working in the highly unstable mode of both attacking and defending. So it's an attack mode and it's a defending mode, and it's not stable. The ego wields this double-edged sword to use against others and ourselves. And he says that the meek shall inherit the earth because of their strength by virtue of the unshakable stability of the atonement. He
So
also
let me just chime in there.
Yep.
I kind of finally got it. I was kind of struggling with that concept, but I guess what he's saying by the double-edged sword
Yes.
is that when we defend our error thinking, when we defend it, we actually hurt ourselves. So it's like we're attacking it.
Yes.
We're attacking ourselves.
Yes.
So when we also vilify other people, we're also hurting ourselves in the process. That's why one of the concepts that we discussed in chapter 1, forgiveness of yourself and others. Yeah. It's through forgiveness allows for that at-one-ment too, because you're coming from a place of love. So when you defend the truth, it's not a double-edged sword because it can't hurt you. Right. Okay, yes. that like made sense. Thank you, Crystal Lynn. Like I was kind of like confused about that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And yes, it makes it is. And he says that it's the miracle that disarms the ego and allows the real defense. And we say that like in symbology, the mind is always like a sword. The symbolism for the mind is always a sword. In tarot, the symbolism for the intellect is a sword. And it's always got double edges. And it's fascinating to think about the symbology that we use. But in going back to ACIM, it says the ego wields this double-edged sword to use it against others and against itself. And he goes on to say that the miracle is necessary to disarm the ego and allow the real defense, which is the atonement, to become the protective entity. The more stable you become at one-ment, that is, the better learner you become, the better miracle worker you become, the more you know yourself as a son, the more you are able to assist in the unification and restoration of the sonship. Okay, and that's all I have.
I gotta go, you guys. Much love. Bye.
All right, see you, Mindy. Bye,
Okay,
darling.
bye.
All right, so I think we can all go, unless there's anything else you want to add before we sign off. I think we can go ahead and sign off very well.
Okay, so just for next week, we sign up via Facebook,
Yep,
right?
I'm going to get
Okay.
that on today, okay?
Okay, thank you. Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
All right, bye,
Bye.
darlings. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.